Hey there, curious minds, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring something really fascinating, an ancient idea about how plants might communicate. It's this concept that their shape, just their physical form, actually reveals their purpose.
Hmm.
We're calling it the language of shape.
hmm
We've dug into some pretty unique sources, old herbal texts, philosophical writings. Our mission really is to uncover these connections our ancestors saw between us, our bodies, and the natural world.
Yeah, and it's more than just looking at, quaint old beliefs. It's really about understanding a whole way of seeing the world. A sophisticated system, actually,
Yeah.
full of observation, interpretation. It shaped how people thought about health, healing, everything being connected. It's a really profound worldview when you get into it.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The
Yeah.
core idea, this language of shape or morphological signatures, it came from this belief, right, that some kind of benevolent creator left clues for us.
Exactly. Legible clues right there in the forms of nature. It wasn't meant to be hidden or tricky. It was seen as, well, the most direct hint you could get, like a kind of cosmic mirroring, you could say.
Cosmic mirroring, okay?
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is just how simple but powerful that idea was. The basic thought was, if a plant part looks like a human body part,
Then it must be for that body part.
precisely. It wasn't just a guess, it was seen as like intentional design, a clear signpost.
So it wasn't just about finding medicine, it sounds like it was a whole philosophy almost. Did that idea of cosmic mirroring affect how they saw maybe human purpose or spirituality beyond just healing?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point because it really did go way beyond just remedies. This whole macrocosm, microcosm idea, the big universe, reflected in the small human form. It meant we weren't separate from nature. We were, intrinsically part of it, mirrored within it. And this fostered a deep respect for the natural world, a sense of stewardship. Every plant wasn't just a thing. It was like a word, a divine sign showing its role and, well, our place too. It pointed to this purposeful design in everything. You see it influencing philosophy, art, even how people live day to day with natural cycles.
Right. Okay, to really get a feel for this, let's look at some examples.
Yeah.
Because some are just undeniable. Think about the first time someone cracked open a walnut. Juglans regia. I mean, just look
Yeah.
at one. The shell, it's hard, corrugated, like a tiny skull.
Yeah, tough, protective.
But then you crack it open.
And the kernel inside? It's startling, isn't it? It looks so much like a brain.
It really does. Bilobed, wrinkled with those folds and grooves, the gyri and sulci.
Exactly, just like the brain surface. And there's even that thin, sort of papery membrane inside the shell.
Like the dura mater, the brain's own protective layer.
Precisely. And this visual connection, it directly informed how it was used historically. Renaissance herbalists, they were completely convinced. John Gerard, back in 1597, wrote in his Herbal that walnuts were specifically good for hurts of the head and strengthening the brain.
Explicitly stated.
Oh, yeah. And Nicholas Culpeper, whose book in 1652 was hugely popular, he linked walnuts to the planet Jupiter, interestingly, and he stressed how they strengthened the brain and memory. It all tied back to that macrocosm, microcosm thinking, the same divine pattern shaping both. They even sometimes crushed walnuts and put them on head injuries, thinking the signature worked externally too.
Wow. Okay, so a direct application from the visual clue. And it wasn't just for the physical head, right? This extended to the mind. What about skullcap?
Yeah.
Scutellaria literiflora, the name
Mm.
itself.
Right. The name is a big hint. Its little flower calyx, after the flower falls, it really does look like a tiny helmet, or, well, a skull cap. And that shape linked it straight to head issues. But not just physical things like headaches, which it was used for. It was also for those harder to pin down things, nervousness, racing thoughts, what they used to call melancholy, or even frenzy.
So the shape suggested protection, a calming cover for the mind.
Exactly. Like it could put a soothing lid on a troubled head, calm things down.
Okay, let's shift to another powerful symbol, the heart. Seed of life, emotion. Heart seas, viola tricolor. It's that little wildflower, right?
Yeah, the wild pansy, charming little thing.
And its flowers, if you look closely, they can look like tiny hearts. And lots of plants, of course, have actual heart-shaped leaves, cordate leaves.
Yes, and that clear heart shape, whether in flower or leaf, directly pointed to its use. Heartsease was seen as beneficial for the physical heart, sure, but maybe even more so for emotional well-being. It was literally given to ease the heart.
Ah, hence the name.
Exactly, for grief, anxiety, emotional upsets, palpitations, nervousness, anything felt in the heart. The idea was that actually taking in something shaped like a heart would, impart strength, soothe the distress, bring balance back. both to the organ and the emotions it symbolized.
That makes a lot of sense within that framework.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of the clearest examples, though, is the common kidney bean,
Mm-hmm.
Phaseolus vulgaris. I mean, the resemblance to a human kidney is just uncanny.
It really is undeniable. And for our ancestors, that was it. Case closed. These beans were clearly made by the creator to help the kidneys, so traditional uses, supporting urination, helping with kidney stones, general kidney and bladder issues. And since they were often eaten regularly, the shape was this constant reminder of their benefit.
Okay, and then you mentioned liverwort, Hepatica nobilis. That brings in a bit more complexity.
It does, yeah. Its main signature is pretty obvious. Those deeply lobed leaves look a lot like a liver. So naturally, it was primarily linked to liver problems. That's where the name comes from.
But were these links always just one-to-one, or could they see, like, secondary clues?
That's the interesting part. There was nuance. While liverwort screamed liver, some careful observers, some herbalists, noted that other parts of the plant, maybe the lower leaves in some types, had a shape that was more subtly kidney-like reniform. So it shows they weren't just looking for the most obvious thing. Keen observation could pick up on secondary resemblances too, which might imply, secondary benefits. Even if the main link was elsewhere, it was quite a layered way of looking.
Interesting. Okay, moving from internal organs to vitality, procreation. Some plants have really unmistakable signatures there related to male anatomy, like orchids, right? Especially the man orchids, Orchis mascula,
Or
the tulips.
famously shaped like, testicles, often paired, bifid. And it's no coincidence. The word orchid itself comes directly from the Greek orchis, which means testicle.
Wow, I didn't know that origin.
Yeah. So these incredibly direct shapes, they were taken very seriously. It led to these plants, often called satyrian collectively.
After the cedars.
Exactly. Those lustful figures from mythology, they were widely used as potent aphrodisiacs to boost virility, treat male fertility problems. That strong visual connection was seen as like a divine stamp of approval for procreative power. Herbalists like Culpeper even gave really explicit instructions on how to use them to strengthen the generative parts.
Right, okay. Now, what about snakes? The serpent symbol is so complex. Healing, wisdom, danger. So plants with twisting serpentine roots or stems must have carried some heavy symbolism.
Absolutely. Snakeroot, Rauvolfia serpentina, is a classic example here. Its root is gnarled, twisted, it really looks like a coiled snake. Found in India, mostly. And that shape directly led to its main traditional uses. As an antidote for snake bites, yes, but also scorpion stings, and for expelling things that resembled snakes or worms, like intestinal parasites.
Following the form again.
Precisely. But what's truly remarkable with snakeroot, and this touches on something interesting, is that centuries later, scientists isolated compounds from it, like reserpine. And reserpine became a major drug for treating high blood pressure and certain mental disorders, totally unrelated to snake bites or worms.
Wow. So the signature led them to the plant, but it had other powerful effects they didn't guess from the shape.
Exactly. It's this fascinating intersection. The ancient observation, based on symbolism, accidentally led to a genuinely potent medicinal plant, even if the reason was different. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it, what other traditional uses, based on these old ways of seeing, might hold modern medical truths we haven't fully uncovered yet, even if the original logic seems, well, symbolic to us now.
That's a really thought-provoking point. And following that idea of winding shapes, what about climbing vines? Their whole growth pattern is about twisting and entangling.
Right. And that form was generally associated with expelling things from the body. The idea was sort of like binding and then releasing. So they might be used to help unwind parts of the body that felt constricted, or to aid detoxification, or even metaphorically to help remove foreign objects or negative influences. The plant's action was thought to mirror its form, sympathetically encouraging release.
The more you look, the more examples just pop up. It really shows how thoroughly they applied this idea. Maybe we can run through a few more quickly. Lungwort, for example.
Ah, yes, Pulmonaria officinalis. Those broad, oval leaves, often with white spots, they looked remarkably like lungs, maybe even diseased lungs because of the spots. So naturally used for coughs, breathing issues, what they call consumption.
And eyebright seems obvious from the name.
Euphrasia officinalis, yeah. The tiny flower looks incredibly like a little eye. It often has a dark spot like a pupil and lines radiating out like an iris.
Amazing detail.
Isn't it? And it was the primary remedy for eye problems, infections, inflammation, improving sight. The name says it all.
What about gnarled roots, looking like joints?
Straight to arthritis, rheumatism, joint pain, the form mimicking the afflicted body part.
And bulbous shapes.
Yeah.
like swollen roots.
Those were often linked to swelling in the body, edema, maybe lymphatic issues. The swollen form of the plant suggested it could help with, or perhaps draw out, swelling, a draining action. Looking at all these, you really get a sense of the deep conviction behind this doctrine of signatures. It was a serious, systematic attempt to read nature's own language. They truly believed nature's design was legible, and that legibility proved its benevolent purpose and its connection to us.
So wrapping this up,
Mm-hmm.
what's the big takeaway? This deep dive really highlights a whole different way of seeing the world, doesn't it? Where just looking closely at nature's shapes was believed to be a direct line to understanding healing,
Yeah.
all based on this idea of deliberate creation, like the earth itself was whispering secrets.
It really was. And it makes you think about that quote from Zoran, the ancient worm. A common weed, by its outward form, can speak volumes if you know the language of its signs. It is a secret whispered by the very earth, for those with eyes keen enough to discern the deliberate hand of creation. Anna. So maybe the final thought for you listening is, how might adopting that kind of intentional design mindset, even just as an exercise, how might that change how you look at the world around you? Maybe it inspires you to look a bit closer at the subtle shapes and patterns and wonder what they might imply.